Right. Let us now get on to our next guest, which is Michelle Howe, who's going to give us a little sort of 10-minute sort of introduction to herself, let her know about what she does, what her story is, where she's come from, and about the authenticity factor. Obviously, we'll find out about the workshops she's got coming up and the 10-minute teaches. And there we go. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Michelle, if you want to unmute yourself, and I'll spotlight you, but feel free to share your screen, and over to you. You're on.
Andrew, she had said 15 minutes. I could do it in 10 if you need
Oh,
me to.
I had 10, but 50, I think we're right for 15. Yeah, whatever it takes, but we'll.
Okay. All right. Let me just get this up. Um, there it is. I put together a PowerPoint because I sometimes get off track over what I'm going to say, and I wanted to make sure I covered. She said, I'm going to introduce myself, tell you a little bit more. I'm like, you're going to get to know me a little bit more than what I typically would share with people. This is my original family, Michelle Kinsella, very Italian. I'm first generation Italian. My parents actually lived in Sicily, 20 minutes from one another, but they met in Utica, New York. And that's my brother and my sister. And okay, here we go. I married Matt. As you can tell, we had three children. I stuck with Jay's. This was them then. This is them now. Probably my biggest motivator is my kids. Um, I somehow did a good job, but it's always a work in progress. This one on the left is Justin in medical school. This one here next to him is Jacob, and he's in cybersecurity in Florida. And my daughter is in the Air Force Academy in Colorado right now. So that's us in Hawaii with the extended family last year, 2023, once in a lifetime thing. So what shaped me really in my life has been the traditional values that I came from. Um, I happen to have like a strong personality, which my mom always told me you need to settle that personality down, Michelle. You're too strong. And I'm like, now I see it, back then I kind of took it and was like, oh, I must not be, but I'm strong. That means I'm willful. That means I have determination and drive, right? Always very intuitive, always very introspective. Um, Achievements, when I was young, I moved beyond an eating disorder. I got my CPA license. I did consulting. I am really have a lot of certifications in a lot of holistic healing, a spiritual development type. I am that person that loves all of it. I believe everything starts in the spiritual and comes down to the physical, and that we are that integrated. It needs to be top of mind. And I created Empath Evolution to show that. Um, Big choices. I don't know if they were choices. I definitely had to have my three kids. They were choices. Decisive. Balancing family and career, I found very challenging, and I made some tough choices there. Empath Evolution's right in there, and my dad passing away is right at the very, very important part of it. So about me, as you can tell, I love putting PowerPoints together. I love beauty and it speaks to me. Imagery is just where it's at because I'm really more of a feeler in the way that I approach my life. As much as I'm logic and I could do my logic and I did my accounting, I've discovered along the way that feeling really was more of a reality for me. Like if I had to make a decision, it wasn't based on black and white. Although I would try to narrow it down to black and white, it was always based on feeling. And I looked around in the world and I saw people having problems, and I felt people having problems, and I really was trying to make sense of the world. Most of my life, I'm just very curious person. And I would probe and people would ask, and sometimes they would just tell me things without me even asking them anything. And I would listen, and my husband would tell me there is absolutely something wrong with you, Michelle. Why are these people telling you these stories? Because they weren't little stories, they were their story, their trauma is what people would share. And I would, I was fine with it. I found it all very interesting, right? It was like each person I met was like a different universe I was getting in touch with, a different perspective, truly, in every sense. So, this way, which way are we going? Like everybody else, I've had challenges along the way and made choices. But there came a point in my life, I was around 40, that life wasn't like my little intuitive spider sense was getting not confused, but wasn't working the way I thought it should be working. And I found myself a little bit lost, a little bit questioning myself, questioning who I was and why wasn't I able to bring these pieces together and what was happening, right, to me. So I went deep into, and it's my thing. I love going deep. When there's something wrong, I go deep. And I learned a ton of stuff and I blossomed, lots of history there, and I became, who I am, which is a little bit different. I'm bringing a topic to the table, which I see is very relevant. I think the emotional, feminine, intuitive side of who we are has been suppressed, has been minimized, has been ignored. We don't necessarily know what to do with our emotions. And we think that, we're following this script of life and of success and what, we're being told to do. But at the very core of that, I say ideology, of that strategy, of that approach, leaves very disconnected people. We're very disconnected. We don't know what is truly us because we're always looking out and what do other people think or expect of us. So, part of my teaching really is about the authenticity factor. And that masterclass is coming in a couple weeks on the 7th. But I go deeper into these topics that I think are so relevant and so important because who you are as an authentic person needs to come to the surface. You need to be more fully yourself. And when you are, you can relate and you can connect and you can create impact like above and beyond any little version of yourself that you have put together. I go deep beneath the surface. What is there that is you? What is there? How do we step into the vision, the more powerful vision of ourselves? We're going to break the patterns and we're going to step into flow. And that empathy advantage, that ability to sense and feel is your natural intelligence at play. It's there for you. So it's coming into awareness. It's actually more than awareness. It's understanding the vibes and the flows. And when Lindsay was talking about nature, nature is the highest vibration. I talk vibration. The highest, you go there, you have no negativity. It just is. And in our human condition, there's so many other mental, emotional factors that get in the way, environmental factors. Like if you're highly empathic, you recognize that there's negativity. One negative among in a bunch in a meeting could, really lead things astray. So really that responsibility for who we are and how we show up. And it's not superficial. It's not just our mind thinking. It's who we are being in any given moment. It shows up. People can feel it. If they were you feel when negativity walks in a door. You feel when things shift in a room based on who's in it. So that part of life needs to come full circle so that we embrace all of it is, all of what we are. Leadership is no longer about authority, right? Yes, there's strategy. Yes, there's vision, but we need authenticity. Like we need to step into a new way of leading where we are trusting ourselves. We're giving ourselves permission to be ourselves. So many people that I see as intelligent and high achieving as what we are, end up feeling disconnected and hollow based on what they're doing. So what they're doing is not in alignment with who they are or who they're meant to be. And that's where depression, anxiety, all these things that keep us in this little space, we just limited all of what we are. And of course, we're going to be anxious because we're not being who we are, right? We don't have permission. We undermine because what? We're looking for somebody else to give us, say that we're good enough to do that, we're smart enough to do that. Like even the most intelligent around us struggle with these things. So I hope you can join me on the 7th. It's going to be 8 a.m. Eastern, which I think is 1 p.m. UK time, but you can do that translation yourself. What did I use? Am I in good timing here, Andrew?
Oh, you got plenty of time. You're fine.
I'm good. Okay, okay.
Oh
So
yeah.
I guess I just wanted to I wanted to spotlight a couple different people that I've helped because I thought at the time I wasn't thinking about authenticity as a factor. That's something that is really coming into my world now because I have the vision and I know the empathy angle of this and the empathy as a skill. And I'm like, how do we expand our mind? How do we accomplish this? How do we really step into what we're here to do? So it was mainly focused on being an empath. And here's Allie. And Allie, great, smart woman, right? She grew up and had a love for her father like no other, but her mom and dad, issues at home, divorce. She ends up as a grown woman capable having difficulty in the relationship area of things, having difficulty trusting, moving forward. And I helped her, and it was beautiful. It was just a beautiful rewrite, rescript, release of all the things that held her back. Because how do you trust life when you've seen things that you can't trust about life, right? How do we approach it from a different angle? So that's her. Here's Linda. Linda, great. Special ed teacher. At one point, she came to me because her natural way of coping was running. She would cope with her life, with the stresses, with the obligations, with the responsibilities by running. Well, at one point, she got injured and she could no longer do what she was doing. And she was having such a hard time not having this solution that she had. I'm going to get divorced. I'm depressed. I'm this, I'm that, like all these things that get in the way. So we went deep with her and truly shifted, and she changed jobs. She reshifted all the ways she managed her life and what her emotions were and who she was. So that's her. And then here's George, my really masterpiece of an amazing client. He had a lot, very, very gifted man, didn't know this. He came to me because his wife had passed away unexpectedly. The love of his life passed away. And even though he had the most traumatic childhood and he was very strong and surpassed so many different challenges, but this had left him emotionally raw. So in working with him, not only did we clear up, allowed how ease and help him come to terms with her loss, but he's like he came in with so many natural gifts. When I say natural gifts, I mean he can channel energy through his body. He can shift. He was very empathic. He didn't know what that meant. He's very intuitive. All of a sudden, he's got a kundalini going through his body, and he's doing remarkable things with his life that were never even remotely part of his equation before. So, in total, what I do is I help you become more authentically what you're ready to be, what you've always been, but you may not have seen what that was. So I think this is most of it. I wanted to see if you guys had any questions. I can certainly answer them, but I don't know if we have time. So Andrew, you direct me here. This is me.
Yeah.